It's the MJX 16208, which is what we're looking at today, and we're also going to compare it to the Rlaarlo ROG1. Let's go. It's a 1/16 scale, brushless, four-wheel drive truck. You've probably seen it around on the YouTubes. The question I've been asked is, which one should I buy, Craig? So today you're going to get a quick review of this thing, and you're also going to get a head-to-head of this. Right, first things first. This is what's on the box. So this is another of the MJX Hypergos, a very successful platform, and for good reason. These cars are great. They're waterproof, they're snappy, they're surprisingly durable. They're not particularly expensive for what you get. You do have some downsides to them. They can be a little bit unstable for their size, but not all of them. A Truggy is going to be, and a monster truck's going to be, but they're not bad, right? Another issue with them is the radios are often not particularly nice. This one actually feels fine, but this is probably the worst trigger I've ever felt on any hobby grade car. This is terrible. Like it's got resistance, like it clicks. There's a plastic molding issue, right? I don't want to break it before I use it. It's a bit better, but it's clicky and it jams sometimes. So these are a cheap radio. They bind every time you turn them on. They're a bit fiddly. One bright side is they run on just 2 AA batteries, which is a definite plus. And you also have a 70% and 100% throttle setting. Meanwhile, Rlaarlo has just been getting better and better with their radios. This is a Dumbo RC made it's a 4 AA unit, but it actually feels pretty good in the hand. And the wheel is just so much nicer. The trigger is just so much nicer. It feels nicer in the hand. To my adult hand, this is kind of cramped. It's just not particularly nice. And there's extra plastic all around it. There's just like, it's meant to be there for aesthetic reasons. There's no reason for that to be there. This is just small, compact. It's comfortable in big hands and small. I've tested this with a 12-year-old's hands as well. I gave them back afterwards, don't worry. And slightly better settings. So the radio for the ROG1 wins, but the bar is very low. This is a cruddy radio, but that's not why you buy the MJX. And in full defense of the MJX, you can replace the radio system, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, the receiver is actually a separate piece. So you can stick your own radio system in, and if you have one of these already, I'm pretty sure you can just buy another Dumbo RC receiver, bind it with this sucker, and you'll be right to go. Or one of the many other radio options out there, because it's what's called discrete. Discrete means a separate or modular. So one nice thing about the MJX Hypergo is that it has separate components for everything. It comes with a 2S battery. Now it's got a T connector on it, but because of the way it's made, it's not going to be compatible with all of the balance charges unless you have like a plug that can plug into it separately. 25C, 1050 milliamp hour. For the 3S LiPo that comes with the ROG1, for it to be worse, it would need to be 25C or lower, and it would need to be, 1575 milliamp hour to be same runtime, all else being equal. The more S's you go, the bigger capacity rating the battery has to be to give you the same runtime as a smaller battery. So bigger battery, and I think it says 35C sustained. So it's a higher quality cell, more S's, more voltage, and higher capacity. The only downside of this is that it's a lot heavier than this, and weight works against you on any kind of little jumpy truck. So although the MJX loses on everything to do with the battery, it wins on one thing, and that is lighter weight means it might just handle better and be more agile. The more you weigh, the harder it is to change direction. A motorbike just went past while we were talking. That thing can change direction way faster than this 3-ton four-wheel drive. Same kind of idea. More mass means more inertia, less agility. So, better battery, but heavier. These are a stretched kind of Hyrax tire. If you want to see more about the ROG1, I've got a full review of it. And I hope you'll find my reviews are a bit different to most of what's out there on YouTube, and therefore hopefully useful to some extent. I can give you my insights on this, and one of the things I told you was this is a Hyrax type tire. It's been stretched. This thing I don't recognize, but it's not difficult to make your own tire tread once you start designing stuff. Ask me how I know. This has a lot of forward bite. This has a lot of forward bite too. As far as which tire is better, The only thing that makes the ROG1 better is that it's slightly bigger. The tire is very slightly bigger and therefore will be better on bumps. The smaller the tire, the more it's going to struggle. The bigger the tire, the better it's going to take a broader range of terrain. Forward bite, I bet you, is pretty similar. If I had to guess, I would say this probably has better forward bite, but then this is going to weigh a lot less. This is already heavier than this fella, and that's without the big battery. So yeah, there's that. Let's have a look under the bodies and we'll see what else we can learn about this while we compare them. ROG1 first has attached body clips that you're not going to lose. The only downside of this thing is that the body's already starting to deteriorate and fall apart. It's had literally a handful of batteries through it already. It's not lasting well. Could be worse, and it looks pretty. Meanwhile, we've got an X-Max lookalike here. Isn't that great? There's a whole lot of frame underneath this that's going to help keep it strong, whereas this guy has very little. They both have a roof protector. My money's on this to last longer. Thicker polycarbonate isn't always a plus, but I think in this case it will be. So I think the body wins for the MJX. This is a passively cooled ESC. This is a actively cooled ESC with the fan on top. This is a passively cooled motor. This is an actively cooled motor with a fan on top. They both have discrete radio systems, which means you can change the radios on both of them. They both have three-wire servos. So they both use acceptably hobby grade parts. Metal axles with CVDs all around and dog bones on the inners on this guy. This guy has dog bones both sides on the rear and CVDs and dog bones on the front. They both have a metal center drive. They both have metal axles. So look, as far as build and finish goes, I think they're going to be pretty similar. There is a little light bar on this sucker here. There's a light bar on this guy too, actually, but it's already started to come out, but it's probably easily fixed. Yes. We have thrashed this thing, like thrashed it. I've lent it to kids to drive as well, so it always impresses me how durable these things are. There you go, it's been lined up again. The shocks haven't leaked yet on the Rlaarlo, although I did question on my review whether they were filled with oil, and I have a feeling they're not. They can be oil filled, but they haven't leaked. Can they leak? Well, you can't leak if you're empty, can you? But it's nicely damped, and they've got sway bars as well. This thing doesn't have sway bars. Doesn't have sway bars. It has no molding for sway bars either. The shocks can be oil filled, and I don't think they're oil filled either. So that's 2 for 2. They're coil over and they're essentially friction shocks, but with all the O-rings and stuff, yeah, we can give it to both of them for probably both having probably leaky shocks. What do we think of the actual car itself? Look, it's a nice plastic composite base. It's going to be fairly durable, I'd say. And being lightweight means, yeah, there's going to be a bit of flex, but not much. And look, the smaller a car is, the more abuse it's going to take at the same speed. We're talking about mass and velocity before. An impact, the smaller and lighter you are, the less damage it's going to do. Again, picture like a little Matchbox car or Hot Wheels car, drop that on the ground. Now do that to like a new bright Jeep and drop it on the ground from the same height. And that makes my point, right? Smaller is less likely to have damage. I should also tell you what comes in the box, shouldn't I? Manual, wheel, hex tool, little Phillips screwdriver, 1.5 amp charger, and what do you call it? What's the word? It's got wheels on it. A wheelie bar. And a wheelie bar with 4 little tiny self-tapping screws to hold it on, with a 3-position adjustment built in. I'm not going to attach that. I could. I don't think I will. This thing came with a wheelie bar as well. Didn't attach that. I think I prefer not having it there. Throttle control comes into it, but also it's just another thing to get snapped on a bad landing. And I prefer the tires to take the hits wherever possible. Again, small size. Small size means they're actually fairly tolerant of big hits, big knots. Tires are glued. It's quality glue. There's no foam, but they are vented. No foam? No foam. Definitely has foam on this one. I really want to be accurate here. Yeah, it's got foam, I can feel it. It's like there's a sock underneath. I can slide the foam around on the wheel. On this guy, the rubber is gripping on the plastic. So it's a decidedly more basic car, this. But now the price, I'm in Australia. I'm also in the bush at the moment because my poor old doggo's at the hospital again for more dental work. I don't have access to the internet right now to tell you, so I'll flash it on screen. This is cheaper, I'm pretty sure. It could be better value for money if it's just as well performing. I don't know. Let's get them both on the gravel now and see what we think. First thing to note, radio on Rlaarlo turns on easily, car turns on easily. Body was a pain in the butt to mount, but it's on. Let's see how it feels to drive. Now remember, this is 3S and no gyro. On loose gravel like this, the potential for stunts is definitely there. Being brushless, it's a lot less sure-footed than a longer wheelbase car would be. I was actually driving the little Datsun rally car. What do you call it? The Phaser Mark II just earlier, and that was just a delight. All right, so that's mucking around. We can turn the thing on through here. There we go. And then we turn this on. There we go. Throttle trim wasn't quite right. All right, so this is the little MJX 161208. I'll tell you one thing, although there's a drone right above us here that I hope you can't hear, it's this thing is quieter than the Rlaarlo by a considerable margin. Now, slightly shorter. Clearly less punch, like clearly. I've already had the throttle planted, we're at 100%, and it's got nothing like the Rlaarlo has. So the Rlaarlo, like that was a lot of effort to get to that. And by the way, I'll just say, when the Rlaarlo is upside down, you can flip it back over. So that's one big thing that this thing has an advantage over the little MJX. So that's mucking around on gravel. Let's have a look in a different environment. So what about in a place that has a bunch of bumps? I tell you what, the whip sharp acceleration from the little Rlaarlo here is just, it takes some getting used to, but it is just fun. Now, I don't know that if they intentionally made this car so that it could flip back onto its wheels, but the acceleration on 3S at least is so sharp. And the gears stand up to it, so far they have. Yeah, it's quite a beastly little thing. Good for mucking around with stunts and stuff too. It really is a fun little car. Yeah, I'm having a great time. All right, what about the little MJX? Now, we were talking about tyre bite before. This thing has less power, so it's harder to ascertain bite. It's harder to ascertain what the forward bite is like compared to on the Rlaarlo, but given that it's low power, it also doesn't quite matter as much because it does grip pretty well. I think I have better sideways traction with the Rlaarlo tyres though. This thing feels like it spins out quicker, but smaller tyres and also very slightly shorter wheelbase means that is gonna always be working against you. Oh, dang it. I also managed to get some internet reception out here, and so I know that this is about 27% more expensive than this guy. It's going to vary a little bit across stores, but let's say a quarter to a third more expensive, just to put it broadly, okay? Is this worth an extra quarter to a third more money than this guy? Most of the time, definitely. Definitely, definitely. I didn't pay for this. I did pay for this. I'd still pay for this. Now, you've got to take what I say with a grain of salt because I'm an influencer. But I promise you I'll always be honest on this channel. I can't avoid some inherent biases, the ones I don't know about, I suppose. But I've done a lot of work on truth, pardon me. Truth is important to me and integrity is important to me. It's my honest opinion. It's just, this is a better car. This thing wins in a couple of ways though. It's lighter, it's probably going to be more durable. The body certainly is going to be more durable. They both have the bodies that, the bodies both remove easily enough, but this thing goes on so fast. This thing, you've still got to fiddle with 4 body clips and lining it up. So this wins on convenience. It also wins on an unexpected thing, the wheel nuts. It seems like a small thing, right? But these ones are smaller than these. This thing's vastly more powerful. It really should have the bigger wheel nuts and the bigger axle, but this actually has better axles, better wheel nuts. Just saying. And there was a third thing this thing wins on. What was it? It's quieter. That's right. It's just quiet. This thing's quite noisy. In every other element though, the ROG1 wins. It's faster, it's peppier, it's just more fun. It can self-right. Yes, it's heavier, but it somehow seems to be more planted. The possibility for stunts is greater with this guy as well. And the radio is hands down better. I also think the electronics are better in this guy. It steers faster. It's instantaneous on the throttle, whereas this thing has a bit of a delay to it. And you never quite feel like you're fully in control with this guy. It's like a, I don't know, it's just like a little lazy. It's like a Friday afternoon for this thing when you're driving it. This thing's Monday morning, ready to go, caffeined up, let's go, boss. It wants to go. I like them both, but my legitimate recommendation is, if you're thinking about them, save up, get the ROG1, thank me later. I'll put links to both of these in the description though. There'll be affiliate links. This will be to Rlaarlo or Amazon, and this will be Amazon. I'll get a small kickback if you buy using either of them. Thank you for using my links. They won't cost you any more to do that. And no dramas if you don't. Thanks also to my channel members, the RC-TNT Scratch Build Gang. Thank you so much, guys. Their names are here. This movie is there. Brr, I must be getting tired. This video is brought to you in part by their generous monthly donation. And I also have the support of the other 2 tiers of channel members as well. Thank you guys, all of you. Really appreciate it. Thanks to you, dear viewer. I appreciate you watching. Throw me a like if this was useful or entertaining or interesting. Let me know if there are other cars you want me to look at. I've always been pretty receptive to that. I can't always pull it off, but I absolutely do when I can. I hope you enjoyed this one. Throw me a like and I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT. Cheers.